might as well change my name to Peter Pepper because I tell you what, this season was just phenomenal for peppers. Now, the easiest way to preserve your hot peppers for years to come is to dry them to rehydrate later as needed. But the best way to preserve them is to go the extra mile and grind them into a powder. Pepper powder offers the greatest control over the spice level in your cooking and lets you fine-tune the flavor to your preferred liking. Here's how you can turn this hot pepper surplus into a powdered prize. This process is a real space saver. For every pound of raw peppers, you should end up with about 3/4 cup of chili powder. To get started, wash and dry your peppers to remove any dirt, debris, or unwanted visitors that could be hiding among the peppers. Throw out any that show signs of rotting. You can include peppers that aren't fully ripe yet, but if you have any with large green patches, it's better to hold on to them for later because the unripe portion won't dry and blend properly. Not to mention, it won't have the flavors we're looking for. The next step is where some of you folks at home might split off and go do your own thing. You can dry the peppers whole if you'd like and then rehydrate them in hot water when a recipe calls for some heat. If that's something you're interested in doing, you can continue following along once we get to the dehydration step. For everyone else, slice up your peppers and remove the seeds. If you're using small peppers like these Carolina Reapers, you can get away with just slicing them in half, but if you have something larger, like a jalapeno or these serranos, you can slice them into thick rings if you'd like. Just note that the larger you leave them, the longer they'll take to dehydrate. Note, I strongly recommend wearing gloves while cutting up these peppers. The oils and the capsaicin in the peppers can really burn your skin if you're not careful. Well, make sure they're quality gloves, especially when working with peppers of the same caliber as Carolina Reapers. Every pepper I sliced and de-seeded left a small coating of capsaicin, the chemical that gives the peppers their heat, and as I worked on, more and more would accumulate onto the gloves. I don't know how this happened, but as I finish up with the Carolina Reapers and move on to the habaneros, I begin to notice a tingling sensation on my fingers. Mild at first, but steadily picking up in strength. By the time I finish with the habaneros, the burn becomes too much to just work through. I check the deep orange stained gloves for tears, find none, take them off, and quickly head to the sink to wash my hands. Time will prove that this is only the beginning of a great pain that I will endure. Some of you know that I have a military background. Well, one of the situations that we need to be trained on is how to react in a chemical attack. And to do that, we need to be exposed to CS gas, commonly called tear gas. I would rather be exposed to CS gas again than deal with the horror that these peppers had wrought unto me. I put on a fresh set of gloves, but the relief from the water was only temporary. I hadn't noticed this before, but the Scotch bonnets are shaped and have their seeds organized in such an inconvenient way. You can't just cut the pepper in half and scoop out the flesh and have the seeds come with it. Oh no, that would be too simple. The seeds need to fall off and get lodged in the many crevices and folds that these peppers boast, delaying when I can begin to seek treatment from my spicy fingers by at least a minute per pepper. I finally finished preparing the peppers, throw them in the oven on dehydrate mode, and set out to desperately try to relieve my fingers. I look up common cures on Google and try everything on the front page. I first tried olive oil. I slather it on my hands and rub it back and forth as a lotion to try and remove the pepper oil, but to no avail. I next try vodka and a similar hand washing technique, as well as a soak, but nothing. I then tried a baking soda paste and that failed me too. At this point, 3 hours have passed and my hands felt like I was literally holding in the flames of a great bonfire. The only relief I found was in ice water. As long as I kept my hands submerged in a bowl of cold water, I could have a relatively happy and decent evening. But this was not meant to be. Our ice machine was broken and I quickly ran out of ice with which to cool my hand bath with. Without ice, my hands would heat the water too fast, and once the temperature reached lukewarm in real temperatures, it felt unbearable to my poor hands. I could replace the water with fresh tap water, but this was too much work, not to mention a waste of water. My search for a cure continued. Eventually, I stumble upon the idea to use calamine lotion, the same stuff you use for poison ivy. Now, this made a difference. Several coats later, and I'm basically back to normal. Only a small tingle remaining. Cool and good. All I need to do is go shower. Huge mistake. I set the dial to where I usually like it at, step in, and almost scream in pain. The water feels like it's scalding my poor nerve-shot hands. I set the shower temp to ice cold so that my hands can put up with it and I can properly wash myself. Imagine drastically changing your plans to make it monstrously inconvenient for the vast majority, just for the small minority. That's basically what my hands did to me. But wait, there's more. The scalding temperatures of the shower reinvigorated the burning sensation of my hands to the level it was pre-calamine. I closed my bedroom door, opened my windows as wide as they'll go to flood my room with the frigid night air. I ended up laying a damp towel over my chest to rub my hands on whenever they got dry. Wet hands are cooler than dry hands, after all. The burning wakes me up several times throughout the night, and every time I roll my hands around on the damp towel, flap them back and forth in the cold air until the pain goes away just enough to where I can sleep for just a little longer, until the heat wakes me up again. I started cooking at around 1 in the afternoon. The burn made itself known an hour later and stayed strong until the early morning of the next day. My alarm wakes me up at 6 a.m. and thank God they only feel tingly. People say that this happens to the best of us. That may be true, but I'm only prepared to let that happen once. Never again. Now, where was I? Oh yeah, if you're using a dehydrator, I strongly recommend using it in a garage or a small room that no one else uses but has access to a window you can open. The fumes given off by this process can be quite potent to those more sensitive to spicy, but it's not the end of the world if you're just using the dehydrate setting on your oven. Set your dehydrator to its recommended setting. Typically this is 130 to 140 degrees Fahrenheit. Higher temperatures will inactivate more of the capsaicin in your peppers, which isn't what we want in this case. Place your peppers in the dehydrator and leave them alone. This process takes a really long time. I mean, an absurd amount of time. I left mine in for like 12 hours and the pepper ended up being more damp than I'd like. If this happens to you too, you can just put the powder back in the dehydrator for a couple hours. Once the peppers are sufficiently dried, whip out your spice grinder, food processor, or good old-fashioned blender. We all know what a powder looks like and I won't insult your intelligence. Just grind your dried peppers until they reach a powderized state. My only words of caution is to be careful opening up the blender. Hold your breath when you do so and keep your face relatively far away. Some of the powder will have gone airborne and is just waiting to drop in on your face. Trust me, I'm speaking from experience. Find a nice jar or baggie in which to store your newly acquired chemical weapon, pepper powder, and make sure you label it appropriately so that no one else mistakes the contents of the container for something else. We wouldn't want that to happen, now would we? The pepper powder I made is crazy potent. I sprinkled a tiny amount into a medium-sized pan of sausage and onions, and let me tell you, I felt that kick. Your powder will probably pack a lot less heat than mine because Carolina Reapers aren't terribly common or easy to get a hold of. Weird flex, I know. I prefer powderizing them like I did because you can use this in literally any dish you're cooking, and you get a much finer control on how much heat you're adding in. With whole dried peppers, only specific dishes call for them, and even then you can't hardly control how much heat is added. Use this powder to add controlled amounts of heat to any dish and preserve your hot peppers for literally years to come. If you like what you saw, why not consider subscribing and hitting the notification icon to stay up to date on when I post. If you change your mind, you can always unsubscribe later. But until next time, bye.